Joined by Butler student athletes Avery Woodson, Keelan Martin, and Andrew Schrabis. Questions, please.
Andrew, Bob Kravitz at WTHR in Indianapolis. Watching the Middle Tennessee State game, they run a lot of 1-3-1. How do you go about attacking a 1-3-1, and how much of that have you seen this year?
We've seen a good amount of it, actually. We saw it against Marquette for a little while. Xavier runs it a little bit. But, I mean, we faced a lot of athleticism this year as well, and they have that. And they're trying to cause havoc with that 1-3-1. It's high pressure, but at the same time trying to slow you down a little bit. So we just have to make sure we space the court well and just get the ball moving. With the 1-3-1, there's going to be open opportunities, but at the same time, they do it because they defend it so well. So we just have to make sure that we find the open guys and keep the ball moving.
Gennaro Armas with the Associated Press. Andrew, what kinds of challenges do Williams and Upshaw, their forwards, particularly present to you guys, especially when they have the ball?
Yeah. I mean, neither one of them are traditional big men. They're both very, very skilled. I mean, Williams dribbles the length of the court sometimes. Upshaw does the same thing, just brings the ball up from a rebound and goes the length of the court. Both can shoot three. Like I said, very, very versatile. So we just have to make sure we play team defense. I mean, it's not going to be, I mean, there's one-on-one situations, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we're in the gaps, helping each other out. Rotations are really good and stuff like that. So it's going to be a challenge. Obviously, they're a very, very good team, but we're up for the challenge.
Yes, David Woods from the Indianapolis Star. Avery, Middle Tennessee is kind of in the spot where Butler once was, of being the sort of that so-called upstart mid-major, you know, trying to make a run in a tournament. When you were following Butler, is that the way you perceive them? And do you think that has changed, or does Butler almost still get perceived like a mid-major, even though you're in the Big East?
Honestly, I didn't look at low major, mid major, or high major. I didn't see the difference. You know, I thought Butler was a pretty good team. And so was Middle Tennessee. I don't put them in the classes low major, mid major, high major. They could play against anybody and beat them.
Avery, back to their 1-3-1 a little bit. Corey Curtis from ABC in Nashville. They do some different things out of it, falling into the 2-3, maybe trap a little bit. The Minnesota guys before the game described it as weird. How would you describe it?
Weird. I think they play really, really hard. I don't think it's weird. It's a 1-3-1. Marquette plays it, Xavier plays it. So we've seen it. We're familiar with it. We just have to be sure with the ball, be smart with it, and not turn it over.
Joe Rexrow, Nashville, Tennessee. And Andrew, back to Williams in particular, does he remind you of anyone you've seen, and how unique is his particular skill set?
Honestly, at the 5, not many people we've seen like that. I look at him more as a 4-man, other than the fact that he's got the size, got the length to compete with 5 men. But at the same time, like I said, he's very, very skilled, very versatile. I mean, he's very consistent with his mid-range, getting to that and getting to the hoop and being physical. So, I mean, we're going to all be up for the challenge for that one, and we just have to bring our hard hats with him.
Keelan, just to get you involved, how do you see this matchup tomorrow night, and what's going to be the key for you guys winning?
I mean, I agree with both what they said, but it's going to be a tough matchup. It's similar to a Big East team. You know, it's going to be very physical. They have a lot of guys that can play different positions. They have a lot of athletic guys. You know, their 1-3-1 matchup is something we've seen this year in the Big East. They had their guards like to shoot pull-ups, and you know, it's just going to be a fun game.
Michael Cohen from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. This question is for Avery. During the regular season, when you happened to have a big game and you made a number of three-pointers, did you notice in the next game or two right after that overcompensation by other teams to try and do more to stop you than maybe they typically would? And do you anticipate that tomorrow, given how well you shot the ball yesterday?
You know, each team is different. Most coaches like to stick to their principles. Defensively, and that changes from game to game, whether they help off of me or not. You know, it changes from game to game.
Andrew, Tyler Lewis made a big impact the other day. When he plays like that and he's getting in the seams and getting other people involved, how does he change the dynamics of a game?
I mean, he's huge. Offensively, he's such a weapon for us. Like you said yesterday, especially he was penetrating really well, reading how coming off his screens really well, figuring out if he was going to get to the hoop or find the open guy. Like I said, his aggression is very, very important for us. We just have to make sure that, like we said, we're in open opportunities for him to find us.
Anything else for the student athletes? Yeah, right here.
Yeah, this is also for Andrew. I probably asked you about this before, but you were recruited when Butler was in the Rising League and then in the A10, and you played 4 Big East seasons. Have you detected any difference in the way Butler is perceived? I mean, it seems like a lot of the things have been the same, but you just kind of wonder if away from the Butler bubble, if Butler is seen any differently.
I mean, not for me. Like you said, when I was getting recruited, or I wasn't even getting recruited yet, they were still in the Horizon League, and they made the 2 runs to the Final Four, and that was a huge reason why I came here, was because of the Butler way and the Butler tradition of just being so good in this time of the year. By the time they were in the A10, yeah, that was huge for me, and now being in the Big East, it's been just some of the best basketball they've ever been part of. So yeah, looking forward to it, and hopefully we can come out with a great great focus going into the game tomorrow.
This is for Avery. Greg Eklund for WFYI in Indy. When you were at Memphis, can you describe the landscape of Middle Tennessee basketball in comparison to the whole basketball picture in the state of Tennessee? Where did Middle Tennessee fall into the casual fans' awareness for the state?
People were very aware of Middle Tennessee State. You know, I had one of my friends went to school there, and he was telling me how good the basketball team was. So people in Memphis, Knoxville, we all knew that Middle Tennessee was a team to be reckoned with. And last year, you know, they I wouldn't even call it an upset. You know, they played very well against Michigan State.
Anything else? All right, thanks, guys. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Joined by Butler head coach Chris Holtman. Questions, please.
Hey, Chris. Bob Kravitz, WTHR. How do you go about attacking the 1-3-1 that Middle Tennessee throws at teams?
Well, it's pretty unique in what they do and how they play it. And, we try not to overcomplicate things. I think we want to stay aggressive. I think our spacing needs to be good, and our decision-making with the ball needs to be good because they are great at turning you over. And listen, there's no question this is a Final Four caliber team we're playing. I've heard people say that, but when you're coaching your own team, you don't have a chance to really watch other teams as much as you'd like to. Now that you've had a chance to study them, there's no question they're a Final Four caliber team. They're as good as any team we've played in the second round in my tenure.
David Woods, Indianapolis Star. Chris, even though Butler is now 4 years in the Big East, you're still a relatively small private institution. Do you sometimes get people referring to Butler as a mid-major? Does it matter? And Middle Tennessee is obviously kind of in that role that Butler once was in, but I got to wondering that sometimes Butler hasn't completely shed that label, or if it even matters.
I don't know that it really matters. I don't get hung up on it much. I think guys understand how good our league is, and usually the league affiliation, to some degree, puts that moniker on you one way or the other. We're trying to play quality basketball, so I think we've been ranked in the top 25 the last 3 years. So I think that speaks for itself. But obviously, it's two really good teams, which you'd expect in the second round.
Michael Cohen from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. When teams often play one defense the whole game, there's generally going to be a set of guidelines about how each coach wants their players to attack that. What are the tenets or important elements when teams change defenses frequently throughout a game versus staying static for 40 minutes?
Well, I think you're relying on your principles at that point. Sharing the ball, having good spacing, moving it. They're really athletic. They are and they play extremely hard. Kermit, they're well coached. They play exceptionally hard. And that allows them to be active defensively and do what they do defensively. I think that more than anything, we're relying on our principles. We want to be simple in our approach and let our guys kind of play with free minds. It's a quick prep for a really complicated defensive team. So for us, let's make sure our guys play with some freedom.
Coach Corey Curtis, ABC in Nashville, Tennessee. As we watched yesterday's games play out, a lot of the lower seeds, while they may not have won, were very, very competitive. How much has the landscape kind of closed in college basketball?
Well, I think there's great parity, as we've seen. Let's be honest, most people are picking Middle to win this game. And, it says something when they've won 31 games. They're terrific. And before the tournament even started, I think people were picking Middle to come out of this pod or whatever you want to call it in 14. And I get that. You look at their body of work, and it makes sense. They're a top 25 program. So I think when you get into this thing, you realize that now we haven't had the kind of 215, 314 kind of upsets that we've had in the past, 413s that we had a lot maybe last year. I think that's been a little bit unique because you normally see that more this time of year, but there's a ton of parity.
Joe Rexrode, Nashville, Tennessee. And Chris, Ja'Cory Williams in particular, how unique of a player is he? Have you seen anyone quite like him this year? And what kind of a challenge is that for your bigs to deal with him?
No, he's a load. Their bigs are outstanding, and they are just outstanding. And their mismatch issues for everybody they play against. And their team defense is so good that you can't really exploit. It's not like they're small on the interior, but it's hard to exploit them inside because their team defense is so good. listen, there's a reason he posted the numbers he posted this year. He and Upshaw are just tremendous talents, and they're not the only ones. They've got obviously other very good players, and it's the reason they're sitting at 31 wins.
Gennaro Armas with the Associated Press. Would you mind recounting again what kind of impact that Woodson and Savage have had since joining the starting lineup?
Certainly a needed one. And I don't think it's just been them. I think that our guys that have come off the bench have helped us. Keelan Martin and Tyler Lewis have helped us in a lot of ways as well. You saw that impact yesterday. But, you know, our guys understood there's 7 or 8 guys that could start. We went in the year knowing that, and guys accepted that and accepted their role. And I think our guys are very comfortable in the roles that they're in right now, whether they're coming off the bench or starting. So.
Michael Cohen from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Down the stretch yesterday when Upshaw was having some of his success against Minnesota, a lot of the times he wasn't ducking into the post until later in the shot clock. How does that tax a defense differently than if he just started out there every possession and fought for position?
Yeah, they're really physical in what they do and how they attack you on both ends. I think they're the most physical team we played, and that speaks to their duck-ins and just their whole mentality. They're the most physical. We play a lot of physical teams in the Big East, but they're certainly one of the most physical teams we played all year, and they play as hard as anybody we played all year. I think you can put them up there with anybody we've played the entire year. The elite teams we played, and they're as good as anybody. That's why I've said they're a Final Four caliber team, and their physicality has a lot to do with their success.
Yeah, Chris, it's Pat Borsey from the New York Times. Coach Davis was in here last night, and he mentioned that his goal was to get his program like Butler's, that in terms of the stability and particularly the postseason accomplishments. I wonder if you guys know each other and whether he's ever said anything like that to you.
No, we know each other just from being on the road. I got a lot of respect for Kermit. He's been a really good coach for a really long time. I think people, when you post the kind of seasons he's posted, look at his last 5 years. Goodness gracious, I think he is getting the recognition that he rightfully deserves and has earned. It's been very impressive, and you know, I played him when I was an assistant at Ohio. We played 1 year, and that was when I first kind of got a better understanding of how they play, how physical they are, how tough they are. And we've seen each other on the road a little bit, but we haven't spoken much.
Coach, back here.
Sure.
Greg Eklund for WFYI in Indy. When you say that most people are picking Middle Tennessee State to win, what are you basing that on? Something you've seen, read, what you've been told?
I've read plenty. Yeah, I've read plenty of, and some of it's been sent my way. You kind of, your head's to the ground here, and you're not necessarily reading everything that's out there but people, I've had friends that have sent me plenty of stuff and it was honestly before the tournament started. People were picking them, and like I said, I think it makes sense given what they've done. So it's going to be a great challenge. We understand that.
Chris, Darrell Moody from the Nevada Appeal. With all that being said about Middle Tennessee, did they kind of get snubbed with their seeding this year?
I don't think there's any way in the world that they're the seed that they were. I mean, I didn't think that going into it. I don't really know how all that works, and I don't pay attention to it. And I think the committee does a difficult task very, very well. There's going to be some seeding issues at times for sure, but they're as good as any team I've seen at that seed in a long, long time. I think and that's clear. Again, you don't win 31 games without being a kind of a caliber team they are, and I've said they're a Final Four caliber team, and I believe it. Bob,
Chris, when you have faced the 1-3-1, I guess, against Marquette some and against Xavier, what kind of success did you have? What did you like about the way your team attacked it, and what concerns you moving forward?
We didn't have any success against Xavier last year when they ran it. It bothered us a lot. Now, our team was a little bit different at that time, but we really struggled against it. And, you know, Marquette has run it a little similar, although their defense is different. I think their athleticism and length and how hard they play make them so difficult to attack. But I think we've had some good moments against it this year. To be honest with you, we haven't seen it a whole lot, Bob. We've seen other defenses, but we have not seen anything similar to this the entire year.
Hi, Chris. Tom Silverstein with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Did you know Tyler Lewis when he was at NC State at all? Did you have any knowledge of him, or were you just given a tip about that he was looking to move? Or
Yeah, I knew he and his dad a little bit. I was an assistant at Butler my first year, and someone had said that he was leaving, and once it became official, I pursued it, and I did know him a little bit. I more than anything, I knew people who knew them pretty well. Obviously, his dad is in the business, runs a scouting service, so I had spoken to him a few times, but didn't know him super well. But you know, Tyler came to our program when it was needed. We had struggled our first year in the Big East, and to get him on a transfer was kind of a shot in the arm because we had struggled with some point guard play, and we knew we were going to lose one, a really good one in Alex Barlow. So he was an important recruit for us.
Anything else for Coach?
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good luck tomorrow night.